Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Deborah Onumajuru. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave us a comment, and let us know what you think. So here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. Today, I am very, very pleased to welcome Deborah Onumajuru out of the United Kingdom. Deborah is a nurse, a coach, a mentor. She's a volunteer, an online instructor. So welcome, Deborah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dale. I'm so happy to be here this evening. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. I get a high when I talk to nurses. I don't know what we do to me, but I like it. So why are you a nurse?
Okay. Yeah, growing up as a child, my dad, we had this first aid equipment in the house, and my dad ensured that we're all safe at home. So we got this first aid box, and I was very interested in seeing what he was doing with that. My dad is not a nurse, but he was not a nurse, but he was very particular about our safety. So he got this first aid box, and we had certain instruments and equipment, materials in the box that from time to time he will always bring out. And if anyone had a cut or a scratch, we just try to do a basic home remedy treatment and all of that. So I was really interested in seeing what he was doing and how he was making use of those things in the box. And I got so interested. I got so glued with the box that I would always go to the box to have a look at what's in it. And if my any of my siblings had a cut, I was very interested. Okay, let's wash it, let's tie it up with this bandage or with this plaster and stuff like that. So I got so attached to that box, and that was where it all clicked. And I'm like, oh, I think it would be a nice thing if I become a nurse. And that was way back when I was still very little. I never even had so much knowledge about what the nursing profession was all about, what it involved. But I just knew it involved caring for people who were sick, to what level, what I needed to do, what courses I needed to take. I was just clueless at that time. But because I started saying, oh, I want to become a nurse, I want to become a nurse. My dad actually nurtured that dream, and my mom also. So while growing up, I remained focused. I never said any other thing. I maintained the fact that I still want to become a nurse because of those childhood memories I had at that time. So it remained even when I went to my secondary school. I still kept on saying I wanted to become a nurse. And at that time, I was becoming much more knowledgeable in what I needed to do to get there. And I was very good at my sciences, so I knew I was on track at that time. And my dad was also speaking to people, to tell me what I needed to do immediately after secondary school so that I could nurture that dream. And even at the time when I was almost done with secondary school, I had spoken to a few nurses my dad had connected me to at that time so that I would know what my career progression was like. So that was where it all started. And I was very good in my secondary school with my sciences, and it came off to people like, why nursing, why not something better to them? But to me, nursing was just the best thing to me at that time, and it's still the best thing. And I remained focused on that dream, and I said, no, it's not nothing or nothing. So even when I started applying to get into nursing school, and it wasn't forthcoming as my first attempt, but I still continued. And my dad said, oh, do you want to try something? I'm like, no, I'm still going to remain. I'm still going to keep trying until I get what I really wanted. And when I got my admission to study nursing, it was a whole lot of relief. I felt so fulfilled. I felt like I was doing the right thing. I felt like I was on the right path. So, and I felt, oh, how would it be when you actualize this childhood dream? And it was a different feeling, and I felt so fulfilled doing that. So when I started the profession, when I got into nursing school, and I started gaining much more knowledge about what the profession entails, it made more sense. It made much more meaning to me, because those childhood memories I had, I began to understand, oh, this was not just something else. This was something that I was born to do. So, so I'm so happy, and that I'm still I got to study nursing, and I'm practicing nursing today. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
how the whole journey started. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's been a brilliant journey. Yeah, and I'm really grateful to my parents because at the
Mhm.
time I had a lot of discouragement. People wanted to discourage me from doing that because they felt I could do something else. They were really supportive. Yeah. Throughout my
Yeah.
career, they were really supportive, and they've been supportive. Yeah. So my dad is no more to see all of this happening now. And sometimes, it gives me that kind of feeling like,
Wish.
yeah, so, not so happy. Sometimes I feel like, oh, you should be here seeing me, do
Yeah, yeah.
better things in the profession right now. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah.
Thank
As
you.
you were speaking, and I'm
Yes.
thinking to myself, so here you are, a child,
Mm.
you're laser focused,
Yeah.
and you're so fortunate to have such a supportive environment, such supportive
Yeah.
parents.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah. Particularly when there are people around
Mm.
who think that, well,
Mm.
nursing is not so much. Let her go for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. So
Yeah.
you always wanted to be a nurse. You had this supportive environment. When you finally got to be a nurse, what surprised you?
Okay. Quite a number of things surprised me when I became a nurse. Um, the fact that there was a knowledge gap between theory and practice. Because when I came out of nursing school, I discovered that most of the things we studied while in school, we didn't get to practice them. I don't know if it was because of where I found myself at that time. So I noticed that there was a huge gap. You still had a bit of struggle trying to acclimatize with real
Hmm.
practice. Yeah.
Hmm.
So there was that gap, and I felt like um, this is not good. And I also observed that um, the fact that we're not really keen on social skills and entrepreneurship. Yeah, these were the things I also observed. And when I left school, I discovered that it's not just about you knowing how to do your nursing job. There are some social skills that you need to develop also. Um, and these are things that nursing school may not give you that privilege to do because you're so, occupied with classwork, assignments, clinical postings. And if you are not really careful, you would not really have time to
Yeah.
um, build yourself, develop yourself
Yeah.
personally. And these are things that keep you on the job. It's not just about you knowing how to do the nursing procedure itself.
Yeah.
So I also noticed that, and it was really frustrating. And I told myself, well, that was one of the major reasons that fueled my decision to start the Body North community to also help nursing students, the next generation of nurses, to understand that it's one good thing to know your nursing skills, because the fact remains that within your first 1 to 3 years of you leaving nursing school, you will level up with real life practice. But there are
Yeah.
certain things that keeps you on the job that you need to know. There are some areas of your life you don't need to set aside because you are in nursing school. And when you leave nursing school, you find that struggle trying to communicate, trying to
Hmm.
understand how do you send emails, how do you communicate in a formal way, and so these were the struggles I observed. Then when I relocated, one of the things I also struggled with was the culture shock. Coming from an African setting and coming to a whole different environment where you have to do where things are whole way different from what I used to know back home. So I had that struggle also. So, and I also struggled with the knowledge gap. Um, Most of the things I studied in nursing school began to make much more sense because most of this equipment we read about in the textbooks, we sometimes we never got to practice with them back home. And here you are, you begin to see those things and you're like, oh, you've not maybe had a hand-on experience with some of all this equipment, and you're seeing this before you and you're asked to do it, and the tension, the fright, the self-doubt.
Yes, yes,
all of
yes,
that.
yes.
So these are the things I also struggled with then. I also struggled with the work dynamics. Back home, we were used to doing 8-hour shift. We're not used to the longer hours, 12 hours shift. Like we have right now.
Yeah.
So things might, there's a way your body adjusts to
Yep.
your work routine. And when there is an adjustment, you would struggle. So in the first few months, I was really struggling. Once it gets to that time when I usually close from work back home, it's like my whole system is just going off. It's switching off, and I'm like, oh God, what's going on? So most people will not understand what's wrong with her, and I'm like,
I
oh
get
God,
it.
just help me. So these are the things that I struggled with. But with time, I got better. Yeah. So, and I got to understand, I got to know how to help myself, how to breach those lapses. And I got better by the day. So thank you.
Yeah, that
Yes.
thing of adjusting from an
Yeah.
8-hour to a 12-hour
Oh
shift, I
no.
absolutely get it. I had to do that myself at one point in
Ah,
my career, and it is not exactly an easy thing.
it's not.
It's not
It's
exactly
not.
easy because, as you said, your body says, "I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with this." It's not that I'm, ready to crash, but I am done with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So what is your current specialty? What areas are you working now?
okay. Currently, I work with the elderly, acute elderly
Okay.
medicine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've worked in A&E, I've worked in medical ward. My first experience when I left nursing school was in the A&E and outpatient department.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I had that experience, and I also had a bit of inpatient care, but I was more on the A&E area. And
Yeah.
when after I think a few years later, I went back to school. I did my midwifery
Mm-hmm.
studies, and I had a brief midwifery experience while in midwifery school. Then when
Yeah.
I left midwifery school, I got a job and I was posted to the outpatient department. So I was there for I think a year or so. Then I moved to the A&E again.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in A&E for I think almost 3 years. Then I moved to the medical ward. So from the
Mm-hmm.
medical ward, that was when I relocated to the UK. So currently I work in the medical ward, acute elderly to be precise. But there are certain specialties that interest me,
Mm-hmm.
even within the acute elderly care, and I'm currently working towards that. So one of the things that interests me is um, end of life care. I'm really
And
passionate about end of life care. Yeah. And I think one of the things that fueled my passion is the fact that my dad is late currently, he's late. So so at the time when he was nearing end of life, I never got to understand that it was nearing end of life. But with the knowledge I have now, I got to know that those things, he was going through at that time
yeah.
was actually end of life care. Because at
Mm-hmm.
that time he had to state where he wanted to be buried. He stated what he wanted his last days to be like. And like I said, he's not a medical personnel, but he was very knowledgeable. So, and I also remember the conversations we had with the medical personnel who told us, oh, there's nothing they could do anymore. And I can relate to
Yeah.
conversations I've got to know now, and I know that these are end of life conversations. So, but it never really clicked at that time. We were all still in denial and hoping and
Yeah.
praying that things will turn
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So And I got to understand that I'm not the only one going through that, especially people from the African setting. We don't prepare for end of life. Sincerely, we do not prepare for end of life. That is why at the point of death, family is still in denial. Even the patient is not even ready.
Yeah.
So and it's also it doesn't help the grieving process, because it takes a long time for people to grieve, and sometimes they tend become aggressive. They pour all the aggression on the healthcare provider, the healthcare workers. That's why you see people who are assaulting healthcare professionals and things like that, because they were not adequately prepared.
They're not prepared.
They were not given sufficient information, and when it happens, it comes to them like it comes to them as a shock. So these are one of the things that fueled my decision to see if I could start a career in end of life care. Then secondly, I also interested in diabetic care, because diabetes is one of the major
contributors,
medical crisis back home, especially in Africa. So, and this is a condition that a lot of people go through, and most of them don't know. There is no, I would say, sufficient education or knowledge on this, or those who even know are not really doing what they need to do in order to prevent these complications from happening. So I also have a personal experience from that. I remember after I left nursing school, the first hospital I worked at, at that time they organized what's it called? They organized an outreach. So and it was very close to where my mom had her business at that time. I just told her, can you just walk into this place and see if you could just have your blood pressure and your blood glucose level done? And by the time she went there, we discovered that our blood pressure was on the high side, our blood sugar was on the high side, and that was how we started managing her for both diabetes and hypertension. And she's been doing well over the years. And I'm like, if I'm not an healthcare professional, if I wasn't in the healthcare setting, how would I have been able to manage a situation? Is one day we'll just see something bad happen to her, and we'll never have known that this was the cause of it. So, and we still have a lot of people back home, even while I was not still working as a nurse back home, I see a lot of people who only present to the hospital when they have gone really bad. And especially when it now comes to that stage where maybe they need to amputate their a limb or things like that, they all deny. Some of them even go back home and say no, they would rather not have that surgery done. So, and most of them who even go ahead to have the surgery done, the recovery process, the psychological impact, some of them start getting depressed, and from there they just go that way. So, and we still have, a lot of people who are still, in denial, who have not really embraced the fact that this is real, and it's killing a lot of people. So another thing is tissue viability. Oh, I love tissue viability currently because I currently deal with the elderly, and one of our major focus is skincare. We have a lot of people who have reduced mobility, elderlies who are confined to bed, who need one or more persons to assist them to move, to mobilize. So, and in my unit currently, adequate skin check, regular skin check is one of our major goals to ensure that we reduce the numbers of the pressure ulcers we are reporting every month. So this is an area I'm also passionate about. I'm someone who is in for quality development, and if there is any quality development project that is going on in my unit, I want to be partake in that. So since this is the current goal from my unit, at least one of the major goals, I'm also seeing how to volunteer to be the teach viability link nurse in my unit, get more knowledge, go for conferences, attend webinars, then come back to retrain others, teach others on how to prevent pressure ulcers in the unit. Most importantly, reduce the numbers, and see that we don't record so much. So I'm working towards all of that. So I'm still about I'm just about 11 months on the NMC register, and relatively new. So just about 20 months in the UK. So, but at least on about 11 months on the NMC register. So I'm still going for courses, attending webinars, and the time I'll get there. So
you absolutely will get there. You absolutely will get there. And you know that exposure actually to elder care and the needs of the elderly is huge. I started my career, a lot of my career was spent in, OR, ER, that kind of high adrenaline thing. It wasn't until later in my career that I got into elder or geriatric care and realized the importance really, because for much of it you see it as custodial, and it is anything but custodial.
It really isn't. There is much more than that, because you have a whole lot of people who come with different needs. They come with different needs. So it's much more than just doing the same thing at the same all the time. No, it's much more than that. Especially for the fact that you know that you're going to grow old someday, and you have elderly parents, you get to understand their needs, you get to understand why they behave the way they behave. So you get to understand the rationale behind some of the things they do. So because if you do not have this knowledge, you might think, oh, maybe it's you will just come up with some kind of suggestions or some kind of diagnosis, and you feel like, oh, maybe this is what is wrong with this person. And but with the knowledge I have now, I know that elderly care is much more different than just you growing old and when they get to a certain age they should go away. No, that's it's way different from that.
Way different from me. What I know you've only been in the United Kingdom for a short time and also in Nigeria. Overall, what about nursing life you think you'd like to see change?
Okay, I would love to see nurses support each other the more. There's an adage that says nurses eat their young, and I think that is beginning to change, because we are having much more knowledgeable nurses who are keen on helping the next generation of nurses, and seeing that there are certain changes, positive changes in the nursing profession. So for long, we've had that contention among ourselves, lack of support, but I see that changing right now, and people are beginning to support each other the more. So these are things that I would love to see more in the nursing profession in the nearest future.
Well,
So
you are very active in doing that. You're very active in doing that, because you founded the budding nurse community.
Some people feel like, well, if I went through this bad experience, so they should go through it
you
also.
Should too, right?
So because when I was in nursing school, you keep hearing some statements like, when I was in nursing school, I had a more worse experience than this. And you'd be like, that you had a very awful experience doesn't mean that I should go through that. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't make the other person's experience better. So so I believe that if we have this mentality that everyone who passes through us, or every nurse that comes that you get to meet in life, anybody, you should have a positive impact on that person. So if we have that mentality, I think it would help us act better, behave better, make better decisions, and will have
Yeah.
better outcomes. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
What advice do you think? I mean, you were nurtured. Your desire to be a nurse was nurtured, but that is not true for everyone. So what advice do you think you'd give to somebody who wants to be a nurse?
My advice to anyone who wants to study nursing, I would say you should stay focused, because before you would say you want to become a nurse, something fueled that decision, something fueled that passion for you to wake up one morning and say, oh, I think I love nursing and I want to study nursing and I want to become a nurse. So, and there are no guarantees to what life throws at us, about the fact that you remain determined, you stay focused, you'll be able to weather through those challenges. Yeah, and I will also say that in all you do, whatever fuels your passion, and by the time you get into the profession, it might not, you those, it's okay for us, you to have desires. And when you come into the profession and you feel like, because I've heard a lot of young nurses say, oh, if I knew that this is the way nursing works, I would have done something else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you hear a lot of people say that. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not careful, you begin to lose that compassion that is attached to the
Yeah.
profession. So no matter what you go through in the profession, in as much as you are waiting for that change to happen, never lose your compassion, never lose that empathy, never lose that caring nature that has always been associated with the nursing profession. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. That is fabulous. So I have
Yeah.
one more thing.
Okay.
You moved countries.
Yeah.
You're a mom. So you've moved from you
Yeah.
vastly different cultures, not just countries, but vastly different
Yeah.
cultures. You're a
Yeah.
mom, you're a
Yeah.
nurse. Not only did you shift your body, but you shifted
Yeah.
your
Shift
style of
pattern.
working.
Yeah.
You shifted your pattern of working. So my question is, what do you do to care for you?
Mm. Oh, okay. Thank you for that question. So, um, self-care to me is all about taking that me time. A quote says that self-care is selfish. So, what I do to care for myself is I use the word consciously, take
Mm-hmm.
out time to rest. I consciously take out time to rest. It's very easy, or it's very if you're not careful as nurses, you find yourself going to take up more extra shift. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a high cost of living, the bills are never ending, and if you're not careful, you see yourself always out, up and about.
Yeah.
So, but if you have it at the back of your mind that you need to rest for you to get energized, to go back to work, to give the best care to your patients, for you to be mentally stable, physically, spiritually, for you to be sound, you need to rest. So it might not be luxury, like you maybe going on a vacation. Yeah, it's nice,
Mm-hmm.
you doing all of that, but it's, if we see self-care from the perspective that it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be luxury, it could be
Mm-hmm.
just a walk in the park, you
Yeah.
relaxing with your favorite TV show.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
just sometimes it could just even be browsing on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
taking a stroll, playing music, doing something you love doing, which is outside the four walls of the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's self-care to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard as a mom, but I really try to. So those times when you've dropped off the kids at school, yeah, you use that time to, relax and, just
Yeah.
have your me time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go see friends and all of that. Yeah.
I'm glad you started with rest actually, because
Yeah.
we, I think, very often underestimate the importance of rest. Somehow
Mm.
it comes down way down on the list. It comes way down on the list of things we're about to do. If you look at anybody's calendar, including mine, or
Mm.
my planner for the day,
Yeah.
and look at the things that I have to do or what would like
Okay.
to accomplish that day, nowhere is it written rest. Nowhere is that written. The other things are written, that I
Yeah.
need to do. But rest is not written anywhere.
Yeah.
And it is just as important as all of those other things that you want to get done.
Exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
Like I said, consciously. So even
Consciously.
consciously, it just comes in. It just comes in. So you may not write it down as a specific time to rest, but in between those activities, you definitely do rest, even though you've not,
Yeah.
specifically written it out that, oh, this is
Yeah.
my rest time. But you find yourself doing that consciously. By the time you finish one task, before you go to the next, or can I just take this time off to do this, to just relax? Or I think I'm getting so oversaturated with all of this schedule. Let me just take at that time. So it comes naturally. Like I said, you have to consciously make out that time
You
to
have to.
rest,
Yeah.
because you might not think about it. You might not even think about putting it on your schedule. Sometimes you take annual leaves, and you take your annual leave and you don't even plan to rest in your annual leave. So like I said, you have to consciously make out that time to rest in.
It has to be conscious. It has to be
Yeah,
conscious,
it has
because
to be
that
conscious.
rest
Yeah,
time has got to include, that rest time is not just
yeah,
physical rest.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is mental and emotional rest. And those
yeah,
are a little bit harder to do, actually. So
yeah,
yeah. So Deborah, before we go, thank you
yeah.
for this conversation. Is there
Oh, thank
anything you would like to leave us with? Any wise word?
All right. I want to say that, especially young, to that young person who is watching this video, who will be watching this later on, and you see what we're doing, and you'll be like, I want to become a nurse someday. I was sometime like you. I would say that you should remain focused. You should remain focused. Determination pays, and you would always get there. For that nurse who is within our first few years in the profession, and you already feel overwhelmed, and you feel like this is not the nursing I thought, or this is not the nursing I envisaged, I would say that's just hanging a little while. Yeah, with time, things will get better, and you get a hang of everything that comes with the profession. And for that nurse who is over 5 years in the profession, and you are feeling stuck in your career, I'll also say it's very important you get a mentor early in your career. It's very important you do that. And if you feel you are not getting where you need to get a mentor. I would say that again, get a mentor. So to our senior nurses, thank you for all the support you've been giving to the younger nurses. Thank you so much. And thank you. That's it.
That was so very well said. Thank you very much, Deborah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much indeed. It was a great
Thank you.
conversation. I'm so appreciative of the opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Join us
Thank you.
again next time as we speak to another nurse and showcase nurses from around the world to the world, one
Yeah.
conversation at a time. Thank you.
Thank you.